Good afternoon. My name is Don Gross. I'm a captain with the Fresno Police Department. With me is Councilmember Mike Kerbasi from District 2, where this event occurred. Last name spelling is Gross, G-R-O-S-S. At approximately 11:38 on Saturday evening, our traffic officers were on Blackstone Avenue at Auto Center Drive when they observed two vehicles approaching them northbound at a high rate of speed. Because of the sound of the engines, the officers used their radar guns and determined these vehicles were traveling at approximately 75 miles an hour. So the two traffic officers pulled on their motorcycles and attempted to initiate a stop. One of the vehicles stopped, was a Camaro, and it stopped at Blackstone and Bullard. One officer made that stop and detained that vehicle. Another officer observed the second vehicle, which was a black Mustang, 2011 Mustang. Observed that vehicle hit the westbound turn lane at Bullard and proceed through a green light. By the time the traffic officer got there, he activated his lights and siren because the light had turned red for the westbound turn lane, northbound Blackstone. And he made it to Bullard Avenue, and when he looked up, he couldn't see any vehicle. He hoped to locate the vehicle, maybe to turn into a neighborhood or something, so he continued westbound Bullard. And when he reached about Moreau, he realized that he saw nothing else. He then shut down his emergency equipment, found a place to make a U-turn. You can even hear him on the body cam video say, "Yeah, I've lost it." So he comes back to the location of the original traffic stop, which is Blackstone and Bullard, with the Camaro, and talks to his partner there at the traffic stop. Approximately two and a half minutes later, we receive a 911 call that there's been a three-vehicle collision at Bullard and Palm, and at that time we respond, and of course you know the aftermath of what occurred there. At this point, I would like to have Councilmember Kerbasi address you folks, and then I will come back for questions if you have any questions. Okay, Councilman.
Thank you, Captain. Good afternoon. I'm Mike Kerbasi. I'm the council member for Northwest Fresno. I grew up not too far from Bullard and Palm, and when I heard about what happened, you hear about accidents happening, and unfortunately, it's a reality of life, tragic accidents, but this is something that's a whole new level. The day after Christmas, having three innocent victims killed is just wrong. And I've had a lot of folks reach out to my office upset about the speeding and traffic, but now I'm hearing from people that are connected to the families of the victims. For Christopher, Linda, and Allison were cousins. They deserved better, and they're going to get a community that's going to respond to their families, provide the support they need. I'm working with the Fresno Center and their executive director, Pao Yang, to be able to raise $30,000. We're setting up a GoFundMe. It will launch today. Please, if you can provide support. We all remember what it was like a year ago when we had the tragic Hmong shootings. There was an outpouring of support. In their culture, the funeral process is very intricate. It's very essential. If you can provide that financial support, it will go a long way. And that's just going to help the families right now in this time of need. But what I would like to say to the residents of Northwest Fresno and this entire city, if you have kids that drive, or if you have young adults, they're still your children that drive, please tell them to slow down. Everyone should just slow down. I know there's frustration out there, but racing has to stop. A car can be a weapon if used wrong. It's very heavy, it can go very fast, and you can see what it can do. Please slow down. Please have that talk with your kids about what to do if there are lights and sirens behind you. The Camaro stopped and did the right thing. The Mustang didn't, and now we have three innocent souls lost, and it never should have happened. And I want to thank the Fresno Police Department. They were out there doing their job. They clocked this person, they went after them, but unfortunately this person went at such an excessive speed, but they followed policy and did everything they could to keep the community safe. I want to thank the community for being supportive of the family. Please, if you can, donate. You can call the Fresno Center. You can call Pao Yang at 255-8395, or you can go to FresnoCOVIDHelp.com or my Facebook page this afternoon, and we will update the link to the GoFundMe page. Thank you very much.
One thing that I'd like to echo Councilmember Kerbasi's sentiment is we need folks to slow down. The reason why that Mustang was out of the visual shot of the officer by the time he made that turn was because, and I haven't mentioned this prior, but I will now, preliminarily we're believing at the time of the collision that car was traveling in excess of 100 miles an hour. So that gives no reaction time for anybody on the roadway. That gives no reaction time, especially in the fog. As fog, it was clear that night, but as that comes on in this year, this is just a tragedy that shouldn't have occurred. Are there any questions that I can answer for folks?
So was this a racing situation, the original incident, the original stop was?
Yeah, the one person was cited for, I believe it was racing, or speed contest is what we call it, not racing. But yes, and that's what we believe it was at the time. However, that all ended when those officers pulled out. And as Councilmember Karbasi said, this could have simply been a citation and everybody gone on their way that evening. Didn't have to end in a tragedy like this.
And is there any indication that alcohol or drugs may have been involved in toxicology?
We don't have a toxicology yet back on the driver of the Mustang, and we will get that at some point. The other involved vehicles, absolutely not.
Do we know, are you guys setting up any patrol out there in that specific area? I know also on between Weston and Paul on Mead, there's a lot of racing down that way as well. I know I've done stories on that before, so.
Sure.
Are you guys planning on setting up patrol out there?
We always do. What we like to do is take feedback from the community and then take our resources and spread them out as, unfortunately, thinly as we can. But anytime we get that information, then we do like to do directed enforcement in those areas. The difficult thing with these types of activities and events is it's not really a plan. People don't plan to come out to Blackstone at 10 o'clock at night and race. What happens are you get two young individuals who want to show their bravado in a car and not realize the absolutely horrific impacts it could have. Sure.
That's a great question. So a couple of weeks ago, I reached out to the department because we were concerned about speeding along Herndon, and they did go out. They did impound and give lots of tickets to help reduce the problem we're having in Herndon. But there's a bigger picture here. So we talked a lot about defund the police department and a lot of these messages. We're having difficulty recruiting officers. We're having difficulty getting. We used to have 80 people in traffic division. We're lucky if we have 40 now. This is the reality of the rhetoric we use and the rhetoric politicians use. It's difficult to get people to want to do that kind of public service. We need more bodies. We have a gang problem in this community, so we're using units to go help with the gang operation. And you can see the effect it has on the community. We are the 6th largest city in the state by area. We can't be everywhere at once. If we had more resources in the traffic unit, I'm sure we can do a lot of that. But we have to prioritize, and violent crimes, unfortunately, are prioritized with shootings and murders. So rhetoric does matter. And I challenge the elected officials in Sacramento to stop talking and start getting us more funding, because in the end, the #1 responsibility of the cities that represent their districts is public safety. That's the message. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other questions I can answer?
The other two individuals that were in the white truck?
Yes. Yes, they are. One is in critical condition and one is in stable condition, thank goodness. Male and female. No, excuse me, 2 males.
So did we figure out that they did run a stop sign? I mean, a stoplight?
Yes, the black Mustang actually blew a stop sign, not a stop sign, a stop light. Vehicles were stopped. The light turned green. It was approximately 3 to 4 seconds for that green light. That's how you had the Mini Cooper traveling northbound and the Toyota going southbound. And that intersection was blown, like I said, at probably in excess of 100 miles an hour. Again, they've got to do a lot of calculations to get that figured out. But no braking, no anything. That was just one of the most brutal impacts I've seen in quite some time.
Because they're going 100 miles per hour, even when the light turns red, there's no way they're going to stop there.
There's that, and then in addition, it gives very little time for people who are going north or southbound to even see that vehicle approaching at that rate of speed, right? It's dark, even though their lights were on, you have such a limited reaction time. And that's what makes traffic enforcement kind of a critical thing. Folks are mad, when they get the speeding ticket, but traffic enforcement is critical because it's indiscriminate. It could easily be your family at 11:38 at night, or it could be, someone at 11:30. Doing what they're supposed to be doing, coming home from a family gathering or coming home from wherever they're at, and it doesn't need to happen.
The other vehicle that was involved
No, the other vehicle was involved. There are charges for the previous activity, but again, as soon as the officers, one stopped the vehicle, he stopped. The other vehicle was the cause of this collision, and that occurred afterwards, so no.
And where did this begin? The original?
Well, the officers were at Auto Center Drive in Blackstone, so I'm going to say probably somewhere south of that, so maybe Barstow, maybe even earlier than that. We don't know just yet. We're reviewing video as well as a multitude of from our cameras as well as cameras up and down. That's what attracted the officers was the sound first, and when they made the observation, they pulled out the radar guns, and 75 miles an hour is what was happening there. And again, the speeds increased, and that makes a lot of sense. You'll see the body cam video when that officer makes that turn, and you got to remember too, one, he's on a motorcycle, so he's already unprotected, and he's going through an intersection that's turned red, so he's got his emergency lights and siren. He's making sure he's not hit. When he makes it to Bullard Avenue and looks westbound, you can't see anything. Again, his hope was that maybe this person had turned into a neighborhood or something, and if you tool on down, you see the car parked and can stop them and take an enforcement action there, but that wasn't the case, unfortunately. At a very high rate of speed. Any other questions?
Can you speak to the loss of life, especially considering that this involved a 17 and 18-year-old?
Absolutely. I have a daughter who's in her early 20s, and she goes out and visits friends and does all those things, which is very appropriate. And like I said, coming home at that time of the night, it's after Christmas. It is a tragedy upon a tragedy. One, that we had so many people involved, and two, that they're so young. Sometimes officers, as I said earlier, are looked at or looked down upon for enforcing those speed laws and doing those things which give you a ticket. But the whole purpose behind that isn't to punish anyone; it's to change behavior, and to change that behavior so that they're driving within the speed limit, so there is reaction time, so that they can stop at that red light, so that they can make sure that the person who maybe isn't paying attention, that walks out in the street with their cell phone, you can stop for them. And I can't echo it enough. In the words of our council person, this is a tragedy that should never have occurred. All right, thank you very much. Thank you for waiting.